Accumulation of quite a few documents and information that we've worked on for quite some time. It seems that there are some things that are affecting the lake that some people aren't aware of, and the city's asked us to present that to them.
So we're going to try and make some of the residents of Andover aware of some of the problems with the lake and maybe some of the solutions that can be taken care of.
Absolutely. I think the research we've done will clearly show some of the things that are affecting the lake and clearly show what can be done to remedy that.
Now, are you working with the city, the DNR, the highway department? Who all is involved in this?
Well, amazingly enough, we worked with everybody, and we have some level of frustration there because we've had some good audiences, but to date, no action. And we think that some of the information we provided absolutely shows the problems and absolutely shows some of the remedies that could be taken now. So the City Council wants us to bring it to them, and they're going to pull these groups together to see if they can affect some action.
I know in your presentation to City Hall there's some pictures from the way the lake looked years ago, and it looks wonderful.
Well, I've lived there 25 years, and it's a slow process. I think the saying is if you put a frog in a pot of water and turn the heat up slowly, it'll cook to death. And I think that that's probably an appropriate way to describe what's happened around Lake. It's been a slow process. And in fact, you'll hear somebody say that that's a natural death of the lake, which is not true. And I think we can show that. We'll be showing that to the city clearly. And
one other thing, I realize that there are some timelines here that some action needs to be taken fairly shortly to maybe alleviate some problems that may be irreversible.
Yes, because it turns into a self-fulfilling kind of a situation. The more cattails, the less water, and the less water, the more cattails. Eventually, you do promote the accelerated death of the lake, and that's really kind of what's happening. If you starve the lake of water, it will die, and it is.
And with the new construction going in on Round Lake Boulevard, that's going to complicate matters even more?
Well, that's a situation where Round Lake Boulevard, if anybody's been by there, knows that there's just a narrow area between Round Lake and then the swampy low area on the other side. And there's some real concern that during that construction there could be some irreversible drainage of the lake or who knows what. We've talked to the highway department, or tried to, and we have no idea what they've done to take that into consideration. We at one point had even proposed a slurry ditch, and they're not going to do that. And it had been proposed to put in mats, and they're not going to do that. So, and they're not telling us what they do intend to do to protect the lake. They just won't even talk to us.
Okay. Now, you have made a presentation to the City Council, and I believe we're going to get an opportunity to see that and let some of the residents of Andover see what's taken place so far. And just as a new resident to the area, I want to thank you for putting in a lot of time and effort, and hopefully we can get the lake into a state that it was in years ago.
Go ahead. You have a presentation to give us, and I understand that pretty much similar to what you and I had talked about a couple weeks ago?
Yes, I did condense it a little bit.
Okay, good. Thank you.
First of all, elected officials, neighbors, thanks for having us here this evening. I'm here representing the Round Lake Association of Anoka County, and we're here because we have concerns about Round Lake. We think that we've done our homework.
Could you turn that microphone towards you a little bit more so that it picks it up for the people at home? Just twist it, yeah.
We've done our homework, so I believe that with this presentation that you'll find that if you allow us to go all the way through it before you ask questions, that a lot of the questions you have will be answered. If you please. If you talk to people that are familiar with Round Lake, live on it, live near it, have been around it, as I have, I've lived there for 25 years, we've always felt that something was wrong with Round Lake. And in fact, in 1989 and 1990, the Andover Neighborhood Preservation Association attempted to resolve some of the issues that we had back then that we felt contributed to the decline of Round Lake. At that time, we were in fact unsuccessful in really accomplishing anything, in my opinion, but I think tonight you'll see that not only are the causes of the decline of Round Lake fairly obvious, but they're fairly easily remedied without a lot of cost, without a lot of effort. I think most of all, it just takes an understanding of what's going on with the lake. If you look here, you'll see what appears to be something from Mars. I can't imagine anybody would look at that and say, well, that looks like a nice lake. What surprises me is how many people that look at that say, well, yeah, that's Round Lake. It's a shallow, swampy lake. And they really feel that this is the normal state of Round Lake. It is not, and I'll show you that. But that's the biggest problem that we've had, I think, all along, is trying to get across that this is not the normal Round Lake, and it doesn't have to be that way, nor should it be that way. To give you a better idea of what the concentration of cattails on the east side really looks like, it looks something like this. In 1999 and 2000, as the lake started to recover from the drought, and the lakes do go up and down, we're fully aware of that, Round Lake did not recover, and due to that, we began to see a colonization of cattails on the east side of the lake that's never been there before, at least not in the 25 years that I've lived there. And we in fact have Ruth, who's lived, she's 83, I don't know how long she's lived there, but many, many years. So if you look at this picture and say, this is normal, you're wrong. This is not normal, particularly in what was the open part of the east side of Round Lake. This is kind of an earlier picture. This shows you the kind of the start of it in 2000. You can see how it was starting to consolidate the east side. What you have to understand is cattails will not grow in certain depths of water, and that's why there has not been cattails colonizing that part of the lake up until now, because even though it was shallow, it was not, in fact, I would tell you that there are parts of the lake over here where the bottom is actually exposed. It's wet, but you're looking at the bottom of the lake. That's never been before. Cattails, and I'm not an expert, but I've lived with them for 25 years, I can tell you, they need water that's approximately 1 to 2 feet deep. When you start to get water that's 3-4 feet deep, they drown. They literally drown, and you'll see them roll upside down and do some crazy things. So it's very important that the depth of the lake be maintained at what it normally should be, or you'll get just what you're seeing now. And here's another picture that is a little before that yet. You can see, I kind of did that backwards, but you can see how we started with a clear area, and it gradually is turning into something undescribable. And to go back just a little bit earlier, this is 1997, and here you can see that it is clear. There are no cattails. So for those of you that would look at those pictures and say, that's about what I expected, that really is not correct. One of the things that was exciting was to run across this picture this morning at the Anoka County Historical Society of Round Lake. There's not a person in here that would probably believe that's Round Lake. But if you look closely, you'll see water lapping up on the sand beach. I can assure you, if you wish to check it out, that's the exact documents that you would look for at the Anoka Historical Society. I don't have my glasses on, so I don't know if that's focused or not.
Looks
If it
good.
isn't, would somebody say focus?
Yeah, looks okay.
Doesn't look focused. And for a little dramatics, I'm not sure that a lot of you are aware of it, but Andover was originally founded as Round Lake Township in 1860. It's called Grove Township in honor of Senator Galusha Grove of Pennsylvania. Why, I don't know, but it's kind of interesting. As I promised you before, we're not coming here with problems. I believe we're coming with solutions. But first you have to have some understanding of what Round Lake really is. And again, I just want to assure you, this is not what Round Lake should look like. This was our first indication of the problem. I believe that it was Kurt Wibbles who researched this and came up with, because we were always told when we complained to the DNR, in fact in 1989 and 1990 we had a big petition and there was a big meeting and it all came down to, well, just wait and the water will come back. The water goes down and the water comes back and you just have to wait. All the lakes go through those cycles. Well, this time, the cycle was stunted, stopped by something that was fairly obvious, and it's showing up on the water level charts from the DNR. I've had some people question the authenticity of these. If you go to DNR's website, Lake Finder, that's exactly where this information came from, and you can easily get that to check it. We did, in fact, take the last couple of years from each chart so that you could compare them and see what we're talking about. This is the more complete chart of Round Lake's water levels. And again, you can see how the recovery is stinted by something. We believe we know what that something is. This is a little more challenging to look at, but I think if you bear with me, it will become clear. If you look closely, you can see a line going down to, this is the Rum River, and I believe you can see that there is a ditch there. If you ask somebody, they'd say, well, that ditch has been there forever, and I've checked, it's been there a long time. The problem is that it was not active. It did not actively drain surface water, nor did it drain groundwater that it is now. We believe that that activation occurred when this area was developed. I apologize, I forget the name of the subdivision, but it was the northwest side of Round Lake. Anybody know what that is?
Lakeview Terrace, that area, or is that's more just
Where the
north?
sheriff lives.
That's over the Kelsey Park area?
Yeah. It doesn't matter, I guess.
There's about 3 different developments.
Yeah.
When they did that subdivision, they excavated in this area pretty intensely. And they knocked down the beaver dam that was there and drained that area so they could build, I guess. I don't know exactly why. But that's when the real trouble started. To further enhance that, the beavers went back and built the dam again. And then when the city went in to build the park, my understanding is not to pick on the city or the Parks Department, but they were getting vehicles stuck. So guess what? They knocked down the beaver dam and drained the wetlands so they could install a park. I don't know how many times that was done, but I know of at least a couple of different times that the city, the Parks Department, whoever, knocked down the beaver dam to drain this wetland to the Rum River in order to do work in there. Makes sense to me. I wouldn't want to lose vehicles and muck up to 10 feet. On the other hand, I think they were totally oblivious to what that did to Round Lake. What they did, in fact, was to redirect the water that normally comes into Round Lake to the Rum River. Now, there's a lot of problems with that. The very first one is that, according to DNR, they do not want that to happen. I don't have a large understanding of watersheds, but I know for a fact that you just do not drain one watershed to the next. You don't do that, certainly not artificially and you're man-made. And that's what, in fact, is happening here. They are, in fact, wound up draining the Round Lake watershed to the lower Rum River, I guess. The beaver dam now is curtailed that. I don't think it stopped it, but it's improved that situation. To further detriment of Round Lake, you have to understand this area here is akin to a large sponge. If you had a sponge in your drainer, your dish thing where you put your dishes, and there was water coming in one side, it would go through the sponge and come out the other. It would still flow, but it would flow through the sponge. And that's basically what's taking place here. The water surfaces, for reasons that I haven't found anybody that knows, surfaces in this area coming from the northwest to the southeast, eventually to the river. It then migrates through this area to the lake. When the city installed this trail, they filled the wetlands, legally, by the way, which is in fact the inlet to the lake. And in addition, there's a road approximately here, which is now a trail, which dead ends right there. Those are the biggest factors that we think led to the status of Round Lake as it is now, the abnormal condition. For those of you that would say, I'm not sure I buy that, here's a picture. I think it's in the 50s, if not 1960. You can clearly see the inlet area which exists today. And if you go to the end of the trail on the north side of the lake and look to the right at the end of that trail, you'll see some cattails. And they look just like cattails, but if you step down in there, you quickly find that that inlet to the lake is still there. This is a little bit closer picture of that inlet. And these are old photographs that we went to great time and expense to get. So I apologize if they're not better, but here again it shows clearly. You can see the aeration of the water going through the culvert under the road. You can see the water coming down through the field. And this is aeration in here, caused by the water moving. That's part of the problem. However, we don't feel that that's the whole problem. And Mr. Slizek, if you're here, I apologize, but we're going to pick on you again tonight, the poor guy. In 1989 and 1990, there was a lot of people, perhaps untrained people or not engineers, but really felt strongly that the intense Slizek ditches on the other side of Round Lake were impacting the lake. The answer we got back was we were made to feel a little bit silly, I think, because we were told, certainly not. His pump is not pumping the lake dry. Well, nobody ever contended that it was. We said that it was part of the problem. And again, I'm not an engineer, but if you've ever, no, I'm not going to do that. The best way I can describe it is the Venturi effect. If you have moving water, that moves water around. We talked about the waterbed thing, but I'm not going to do that because there's a lot of people who don't know what I'm talking about. This is, in fact, a representation of the ditch back in 1989 and the lake, you can see clearly that Round Lake Boulevard is in essence a dike for the lake. You can see that the water moves under Round Lake Boulevard, and I'll show you some better pictures of that. This ditch, Mr. Slysik's increased that ditch, or maintained it, is the way it was explained to me, but it's now deeper than it was before, to a point that if a small dog or child falls in there, how would they ever get out? I don't know. What we're concerned about is, and again, this is from 1989. I think somebody's pushing the buttons. You can see that you have small arrows coming in, there's the inlet, what's left of it. And then you have large magnitude arrows here. They're obviously out of proportion to what's going on with the lake. I mean, that's just sticks out. And it stuck out back then, but we didn't know what to make out of it. And what we're making out of it now is, number one, this is pointing directly at the boat landing, directly at the parking area. And we're not saying that anybody went in there and punctured the mat, but there's reason to believe somebody may have. To this day, I don't know, I can't get the city, the county, or DNR, or anybody to say they've ever done any maintenance whatsoever on that boat landing, yet the people that live there, they've seen vehicles over there. But that's not the question. We're not here to beat up on anybody. We're here to say that you have a dam. First of all, you have a high amount of water flowing under Round Lake Boulevard anyhow. You have Round Lake Boulevard, which acts as a dam. And now we're going to go in, my understanding is, and remove up to 10 feet of material under Round Lake Boulevard to improve it. And it doesn't, we've talked to the highway department, and apparently they're irritated or whatever because now they won't respond. Because we're concerned about what could happen there. In addition, we're concerned about an opportunity to resolve a problem that all parties have had. This is one of those situations, I'm sure somebody will find that I'm wrong, but it looks like it's a win-win-win-win. Mr. Slyzik doesn't want the water from Round Lake. He's not pumping it because he wants it, he's pumping it because it's coming in and he's trying to get rid of it. The golf course does not want the water that's flowing under Round Lake Boulevard. It's a problem for them, and I'm sure there's more that I don't know about. We do want the water because we need the water in order to maintain some kind of a reasonable level in the lake in order to have a lake. When the road is installed, it's an ideal opportunity to once and for all resolve an issue that's been going on for 15, 20 years that I'm aware of, and that is to either put in, now the proposal is possibly a slurry ditch, which is just kind of a narrow trench that you fill with liquid clay and then it dries and turns into an impermeable barrier, or mats. And of course the question of cost comes up, and I just can't believe that there's that much money involved. I'm not going to point my fingers at any, but if we can build a hockey rink, can't we take care of the lake? I mean, I don't know. It just seems like a natural resource like that would be a higher priority than what it seems to be with anybody, and that's why we're here. We propose that this, in fact, is a copy of the letter that was sent to the highway department. I don't know if you can read that or not, or if it even matters. What we propose, without putting all this back up here, is that per DNR, not that they mandate it, but they have suggested that the city consider a permanent ditch block. My understanding is that that would put you in a position where you do not have to go back and rework all the flood maps and all of that. In addition, we would like to see the fill removed from the wetlands for that path, and if a path is needed, a suspended path could be put in as it was just about a block away. And we would like to see the dead-end trail, just pull it back. Just somebody suggested a culvert, and why would you go to the expense of putting in a culvert at the end of a dead-end path? let's just get some trucks, get the backhoe and just pull it back, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 feet and let the lake, restore the lake to what it should be. In addition, I'm hoping that the city will find ways to work with the highway department to take this opportunity before it passes. And it's close to passing. I mean, this is February, and they're piling up sand over there, the last I heard. Even with the cuts, I believe that project's still going ahead. So time's running out. And I think we'll stop there. We're going to talk about aeration, but we'll wait till some other day to do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
So anyways, on Wednesday the 12th, you did have a meeting with the DNR. What happened in that meeting?
Well, actually, the meeting was with the DNR, the Coon Creek Watershed District, the Lower Rum River Watershed District, the Anoka County Water and Soil Conservation District, and the DNR, and the city engineer was there. And
Okay.
Overall, I'd say the meeting went very well, but the Round Lake Association has some serious concerns about this study because we're having a hard time understanding what studying the precipitation or rainfall for the last how many years, what real benefit that is. And that's fine to do that, but the other thing, there was, at one point, the meeting was actually monopolized by one of the people, I think it was Coon Creek Watershed District, who did a dissertation on the effect of evaporating water, the fact that it's a small watershed district. And again, these are, yeah, but we really think that again, if you go back to the presentation where it clearly showed waters being diverted to the Rum River, and it clearly shows that there's some basic dams that have been built in the inlet. We just really think that we're getting off track, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. The study is going to be done. Everybody has our interests at heart, I think, but we're just concerned they're going to come back and say, hey, when it doesn't rain a lot, the lake goes down, and when it rains a lot, the lake goes up, and you've got a small watershed. And although those things may be true, those are not accurate, and we don't believe that addresses the real problems that are affecting Round Lake.
Right, and you did show that in some of your graphics with the rainfall in the last year, one of the rainiest years on record, and showing that the other lakes in the area have rebounded.
Bright light
Yet
city
Round
gonna
Lake
set
has
my
not.
soul.
Right. So you would have to, if you're going to study rainfall, then you'd have to assume that what you're trying to show, I guess, is that Round Lake got less water or precipitation than Crooked Lake.
I want Round Lake to be there when I grow up, so I can go fishing and let the eagles eat the fish, so I can take boat rides, and so I can ice skate and swim.